exciting episode of Codename New to Bureau 2. I'm your presenter, GIJoe are you. Now, if you guys been following, it's been a little bit of a layover between part 3 and part 4, and I kind of did that on purpose because I wanted people that are coming in to, have enough time with parts 1 to 3 because they're so important, and it's important for us as a fan base going forward. This event has such a big impact on what's currently going on GIJoe and possible future. We all know the new news about Snake Eyes origin movie that's set to, I think they're starting to cast for that, and of course the wheels are turning for that movie, and we're all eagerly awaiting. And thank God Rian Johnson is not involved in anything with GIJoe to screw it up. So that's a big win for us Joe fans. The other thing is, this issue is so important that it leads to new characters, a new feel, something that GIJoe desperately needs, and that is new characters and new elements that make it feel like it's today. You'll also note in current GIJoe that the attachment to Vietnam is no longer, it's kind of now the Gulf War, like what they're using, and we see that in the Special Missions series, how, Duke and Roadblock and it's like they just put it into, the Persian Gulf War, which I think is great. It keeps things modern and fresh, because it's tough to imagine, Snake Eyes 60-something years old, what he would be if he was still a Vietnam vet, and all those other characters. This issue is also important because, remember, this is 2015 when this came out. It was important because it announced the passing of someone that's just associated iconically as Larry Hama and Kirk Bazigian, and that is Herb Trimpe. And he passed away, sadly, around this time. So this issue is dedicated to his memory as well. And just a quick recap, we know that, obviously, that Snake Eyes has passed away. Wade Collins' son, Sean, who's known as Throwdown, he got hurt, and he's going to assume the mantle of Snake Eyes because Duke and Hawk has made it known that they don't want Cobra to have that psychological victory that Snake Eyes is dead. So we're going to see all of this, come into play and transition. So that's why this issue is very important. So without further ado, let's pick up with part 4 of The Death of Snake Eyes. After the burial of Snake Eyes, we begin this issue in the sickbay ward of the pit. Throwdown, aka Sean Collins, is recuperating from extensive burns, most notably the scorching of his vocal cords, and thanks to the Toxo Viper suit that saved his life from re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. Hawk and Lifeline have not left his side. Hawk walks over and asks him, "Hey, you think it's okay if we talked about some serious stuff?" Obviously, Throwdown replies yes. Now, the main issue that the Joe team and the Brass have discussed is they don't want Cobra to know about Snake Eyes passing away. They don't want to give them the psychological advantage on knowing that Snake Eyes is no longer with them. So, they've decided, since Sean Collins is the last brother, that he rightfully should hold the mantle of assuming Snake Eyes' identity. Of course, he thinks about it and reluctantly, or actually not reluctantly, with honorably he says yes. His allegiance is to the clan and to the Joe team, and without hesitation, he's all for it. But there's some repercussions. He has to assume that he is dead. So Sergeant Sean Collins is deceased, and he's going to have a national burial at Arlington Cemetery. His family, Wade Collins, also has to assume that their son is no longer there. Just then, Scarlet knocks on the door and enters, carrying with her the sword known as the Lesser Light, a sword that is second to none to the Morning Light sword that Snake Eyes regularly carries. As soon as he sees her, he is overwhelmed with emotion, as they both connect with their loss and grievance. Holding to tradition, the sword is passed down to Sean. At the Silent Castle, Cobra Commander, Black Major, and Red Laser brainstorm and ponder the course of events, with the giant robot, Serpentor, and the GIJoe team trying to pinpoint what went wrong. The answer is Throwdown. He was the one-man wrecking crew and the factor that nobody had in consideration or accounted for. It was obviously to see that he was Arashikage trained, so at this point they want to know more about him. As you can see, Cobra Commander is not happy and he wants them to get to the bottom of this. We segue to Japan. The news of Snake Eyes has already reached, and the Arashikage clan is in the middle of a clan memorial service. Storm Shadow is deep in thought, reflecting on the journey he and Snake Eyes have been on together. Billy is gone. Now Snake Eyes is gone too. He takes the last students with him to the section where it all started, the very spot the Hard Master died, shot down by his arrow. He shows where he had earlier shot an innocent squirrel, and how he regretted such a reckless act, and echoes that in order to be a great warrior, one must value life. He goes back stating old lore of how Zartan, under Cobra Commander's orders, used his arrow to kill the Hard Master. It's important to note that Dawn Marino is present, and she has embedded with him Snake Eyes' memories, which is currently dormant inside of her, waiting to come out at the right moment. The only issue I have is it doesn't really show Storm Shadow in a state of mourning, but reflection. I mean, he just lost his blood brother, and he's a little bit, not playing up to what I would think he would. We next segue to the funeral at Arlington for Sean Collins. Again, this is part of the condition for him to assume the identity of Snake Eyes. Cobra is watching with, very prying eyes to see what's going on. And they're able to identify him as indeed Wade Collins' son. So a plan is decided to go and make them pay for what happened and to get back at Wade Collins for their son's action. It's important to note, in order to make this believable, the Collins family has no idea that Sean is still alive. We have Scarlet taking Sean to Snake Eyes' cabin in the Sierras. I wonder what this means, but we'll get back to that in a little bit later. Like many families that have lost loved ones in battle and combat, the Collins family is coming to grips with the death of their son. Wade is kind of wondering, why he did this, if he should have done something to stop him. But his wife and daughter reassure him that this is his life and this is what he chooses to do. But Wade is a little bit on the cautious side because of Cobra. An ice cream truck is parked outside the Collins residence. And who should emerge? None other than the saboteur, Firefly. Firefly has already planted a bomb and destroys the Collins family residence. Has the Collins family survived? Was Wade smart enough to get them out? We'll find out. Outside Snake Eyes' cabin, a huge squad of 20-plus Night Creeper assassins begin their ambush on Scarlet and Sean. It seems Cobra is in the midst of a two-pronged attack, first targeting the Collins family and now Snake Eyes, or what they think is Snake Eyes. You think the GIJoes are already a step ahead of them? It's kind of interesting that Scarlet brought Sean to Snake Eyes' cabin. Out of nowhere, Stalker, Outback, Lowlight, and Muskrat get a jump on the Night Creepers. Stalker is going on a rampage with revenge for his longtime friend Snake Eyes. This is his grief counseling. Kill. Muskrat brutally uses his shovel to beat a Night Creeper to death. Lowlight uses a silencer as he provides cover fire for the rest of the team. This is modern, grown-up GIJoe. It is now clear that the Joe team fully anticipated this from Cobra. Scarlet and Sean were just merely the bait, while the other team was set up ready to strike and get revenge for Snake Eyes. The Night Creeper leader was left alone. They allowed him to approach the cabin, not realizing what was going on behind him. So he approaches and he kicks down the door. And who should greet him? Scarlet, sitting calmly by the rocking chair. But to his surprise, look who's coming. Yup, it's Sean. Sean in Snake Eyes' version 1 outfit. Coming up to him with the sword. And just like that, he doesn't have a head anymore. And that ends the Death of Snake Eyes saga. This entire scene and scenario showcases how that even though Snake Eyes is no longer there, his presence, everything that he embodied is very much with G.I. Joe going forward. Now to wrap this up real quickly, this also is the passing of Herb Trimpe, the original artist for G.I. Joe. He is one of the iconic figures of G.I. Joe along with Larry Hama and Kirk Bazigian. So, as a fitting tribute, the last few pages are dedicated to him and his artwork.